Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Art at Home, sponsored by the great Hoboken Public Library. We cannot thank them enough for allowing us this opportunity during COVID to create art in the privacy of our own homes. Thank you so much. It's just brilliant to have this creative option in our lives. So today we are launching our Asian American and Pacific Islander History Month celebration, in which we are going to focus on many different Asian American and Pacific Islander artists. I am thrilled to announce today that we will be looking at the work of Isamu Noguchi. Noguchi is probably one of the greatest artists that this country has ever produced. And I say this country, and I'm saying it in caps, but Noguchi spent years of his life in Japan, but he lived most of his life here in the United States. He had a contentious relationship with his father, and I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. But he was incredibly proud of his Japanese ancestry, and he leaned heavily on Japanese culture and aesthetic in his work. He loved the beauty, the simplicity, the elegance, the form, the line, the classic. I'm at a loss for words. The classic gorgeousness of Japanese art. And when we look at his work, I'm going to talk more about Japanese aesthetic. I'm not certainly an expert on this topic. Those of you who may know more than I do, please add to what we are talking about in the conversation. Noguchi was born November 17th, 1904. He was born in an extraordinarily difficult period of world history, and it truly affected his life. He, as I mentioned, was an American artist, also a landscape architect and a designer. He may be most famous for the fact that he designed incredibly beautiful furniture and lighting fixtures. I, for one, love his fine art more than his furniture, but his furniture and light fixtures are also incredibly beautiful. He is known for his sculpture and public artworks. He also designed stage sets for Martha Graham, the great modern dance choreographer and dancer. And again, as I mentioned, several mass-produced lamps and furniture pieces. His work lives on and around the world at the Isamu Noguchi Foundation and Garden Museum in New York City. I have never been there. Those of you who are in the Culture Club, please talk to Heidi Schwab, leader of that group, and see if you can have a field trip to that museum. I'm going to sign up right away to go. Those of you who've been there, please share with us how wonderful it must be. Noguchi was born in Los Angeles, and this where his life gets really interesting right from the get-go at his birth. He was the son of Ion. I think I'm pronouncing that name correctly. If not, those of you who know the correct pronunciation, please do correct me. Ion Noguchi, who was a Japanese poet, highly acclaimed in the United States, and Leonie Gilmore, an American writer, and she edited much of Noguchi's work. That's how they met. Ione and Gilmore had actually ended their relationship prior to the birth of Isamu. And he was engaged to be married to a Washington Post writer named Ethel Ames. But when Ione learned of the birth of Isamu, he left Ames and invited Gilmore to go with him to Japan, to come. She should come and bring the child with her to Japan. At first, she refused, but when tensions grew between Japan and the United States after the Russo-Japanese War, she decided it might be safer for her young child and herself to go to Japan. Thus started Noguchi's early years growing up in Japan. So they left for Japan in March 1907, and upon arrival, Ione gave his son the name Isamu, which means courage. And when they arrived, they found that Ione had married another woman, a Japanese woman, and they'd already started another family. So Ione and Isamu had to start a solitary life completely on their own in Japan. Must have been very difficult for Leone and the child in this completely new and different country. She didn't speak Japanese. She knew nothing of the culture. And in 1912, Isamu's half-sister, who later became a modern dancer, Ailes Gilmore, was born to Leone and an unknown Japanese father. So Isamu Noguchi's family expanded and started to grow. His mother, Leone, began to encourage him in his artwork. She saw at a very young age his burgeoning talent, and she nurtured and encouraged this in him. She put him in charge of their garden at a very young age and apprenticed him to a local carpenter. In December 1917, however, they moved to Yokohama to live in an English-speaking community, and that's where he grew up. And while there, he was sent 6 years later to the United States, to Indiana, where he lived with an American doctor, Dr. Edward Rumeli, in LaPorte, Indiana, and went to school in Rolling Prairie, Indiana. Must have been quite a shock for him. He went by the name Sam Gilmore. And he graduated from LaPorte High School in 1922. While in high school, though, he told this doctor how much he wanted to become an artist. The doctor understood, but encouraged Noguchi to become a doctor. No surprise there. And the doctor staked him financially to go to Columbia University in New York. Noguchi did become a pre-med student, was doing quite well, but his mother and another Noguchi, I'm not sure if this person, Hideo Noguchi, I'm not sure if they were related. His mother and Hideo Noguchi encouraged him to practice art at night. So while at Columbia University, he went to art school in the evening and began practicing his art. He went to a school that was called the Leonardo da Vinci Art School. The head of the school, Honorio Ruotolo, was immediately impressed by Noguchi's work. He began working in plaster and terracotta, and quite soon thereafter, he dropped out of Columbia to pursue sculpture full-time. And at that point, he changed his name officially from Sam Gilmore to Isamu Noguchi. He founded his own studio and he began supporting himself on portrait bust commissions, and he won the Logan Medal of the Arts. He frequented avant-garde spaces and galleries. He met Stieglitz and Brancusi. Brancusi took him under his wing and apprenticed him for a while. Unfortunately, he did not really learn much about sculpture from Brancusi. He basically was moving sculpture from place to place in Brancusi's studio and did not really learn a whole lot at that point in his life. In 1926, however, Noguchi won a Guggenheim Fellowship, which enabled him to travel throughout Europe from 1927 to 1937, where not only did he work more with Brancusi, and at this point, particularly in stone sculpture, where apparently he started really learning skills, but he met people like Alexander Calder. He determined that he needed to go to India to study Oriental sculpture, but unfortunately, he ran out of fellowship money, and he came back to the US in 29 and settled in New York City, where he opened a studio in Greenwich Village and met Buckminster Fuller, who was also a huge influence on his life. He, at that point, was beginning to really work on his abstract sculpture, which is what he became most famous for, but unfortunately, they didn't sell and they were not really affording him an income. So he went back to doing the commissioned portraiture work, and they enabled him to support himself. And it was at that point that he met Martha Graham. She commissioned him to do her portrait, and that led to a lifelong friendship. It enabled him to earn enough money. His friendship with her enabled him to earn enough money to continue his trip to Asia. So he left for Paris in 1930. He took the Trans-Siberian Railway. He had wanted to visit Japan first, but get this, still having the contentious relationship with his father got wind of the fact that he was coming to Japan and was horrified that he was going to arrive there using his name. So, heartbroken, Noguchi decided to delay his travels to Japan and went to China instead, which turned out to be great for Noguchi because he studied Chinese brush painting techniques and some pottery techniques while in Beijing. And then finally, he traveled to Japan in late 1930, where he studied Zen gardens, working in Zen gardens, and did much more pottery work. Upon his return to New York in 1932, he found himself in the midst of the Great Depression and again began to struggle financially. But thanks to the great late Eleanor Roosevelt and the Works Project Administration, he was granted funding to start public works. And that's when he began to become famous doing federal arts projects throughout the United States. He also started inventing things. In 1937, he designed the Zenith Radio Nurse, which was a baby monitor that helped young parents hear their babies crying when they were not in the same room. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, however, his luck turned bad again. He was interred what's the word? He was interned. He was interned in a concentration camp in Arizona, the Poston, Arizona Indian Reservation, Japanese internment camp, and lived there many years. He worked hard to convince the American government that Japanese Americans were loyal to the United States. And finally, he was released from the internment camp in the mid 1940s, returned to New York to his studio in Greenwich Village, and began working in surrealism, created these absolutely gorgeous biomorphic sculptures, which were a combination of organic and geometric form. And we're going to look at some of them. They were also his famous assembled slab works, the Koros, were first shown in a September 1946 exhibition. He began becoming famous at this stage in his life, working on Martha Graham's Appalachian Spring set designs. He worked with John Cage and Merce Cunningham. And he finally, in March 1949, had his first one-person show in New York at the Charles Egan Gallery. And kind of the rest is history. Any thoughts, comments? He had a very difficult life. He struggled throughout his life to follow his muse and to make his art public and in the forefront. And he never gave up. Some things in the chat, let me check on those. Nothing about Noguchi, so I think we're ready to look at his work. Let's check it out. Open it up. I think you're going to love it. There's a lot of information about Noguchi out there. I encourage you to look further into. Hold on 1 minute. I have people entering. Just want to let them in. Great. So this is one of Noguchi's stone slab pieces. He always worked with material from nature. He was committed to honoring the beauty of what he saw around him. He wanted to honor the earth. He was holding fast to the traditions of his Japanese heritage and the beauty of and simplicity of Japanese Zen gardens. Just magnificent, flat and textured surfaces. He loved playing with the contrast between rough and smooth. This was one of his motivating factors throughout his entire life. He loved this interplay of texture. He loved curves juxtaposed with sharp angles. He loved the play of light and dark on surfaces. All of that was important to him in his work. He loved doing outdoor work because he really enjoyed watching weather affecting his pieces. It was important to him to see how his sculpture would change through the effects of heat, sunlight, rain, ice, and snow. All of this he felt added to the beauty of his work. And even though this is abstract, it has kind of a humanoid feel to it. One thing that always attracts me to Noguchi's work is the warmth. He uses what I would call cold materials, cold to the touch, but the pieces convey a warmth and a passion that perhaps we wouldn't associate with a stone or a rock.
Great.
All right, I'm not hearing from anyone else, so I'm assuming I should go on to another image. So here we go. As usual, I have a lot of stuff here, so give me a moment to choose. Here we go. This is one of his smaller works. Again, only natural materials, wood and stone. I think there's a little bit of steel and fiber in this piece as well. I think this is string, could be wire, I'm not sure. Reminiscent of bones. Could be any animal. Feels very mammalian to me. I also love how his work is very balanced, yet not symmetrical. He was a master at balancing objects in a way that was just so incredibly surprising and unexpected. He could put heavy things on top of the tiniest base. And if you do get a chance to see his work in person, be prepared to be wowed by his extraordinary engineering skills. And his work is beautiful from all sides. Do keep in mind that what makes something sculpture is your ability to see it from all sides. Unless, of course, it's a wall piece. Again, the contrast between smooth and rough textures, rounded and sharp-edged, man-made and natural. These were the ideas he was constantly playing with. True to, always faithful and loyal to the Japanese aesthetic that he loved so much. There's another, this one I think is so exquisite. And Noguchi was a huge influence on the minimalist sculptors who came after him. People like Carl Andre, Robert Smithson, Richard Serra, you name any 20th century sculpture, and they will claim Noguchi as their forefather. So this piece is all marble, I believe. There may be some granite. More contrast, thin and rounded. Look at that tiny sliver juxtaposed with the very rounded base. Again, biomorphic shapes. This could be a human head, or it could be an egg, who knows? And the fact that he chose to put these rounded forms on this very geometric base, again, speaks to contrast that he loved playing around with and working with. The speckled texture on this form and the smooth quality of the other stone that he uses.
I love this one. I love the smoothness and the shadows and how the forms fit together.
Yes. I second that emotion. He really, really loved playing with shadow, Heather. Thank you for noticing that. And then the really surprising way that thin piece of stone just kind of notches into the larger, rounder form. That was highly unusual and never done before. Brancusi came close to doing this kind of stuff, but Noguchi really was the first. You can see Brancusi's influence on him, though. It's pretty strong. Okay, we'll look at a few more, and then I'm going to give you your assignment. I want to look at a few more sculpture, and then I also have some of his drawings, which I think are also very interesting, because I'm going to give you some choices today. You can either work two-dimensionally or three-dimensionally. Noguchi could work very small, so this is one of his tiny pieces. Sculpture doesn't always have to be monumental. This is a ceramic piece. It almost looks like sea glass, doesn't it? And it's quite small. It looks like it could be two people either talking or kissing, or definitely looks like childlike profiles. And I love the color of the glaze. But I wanted you to get the understanding that sculpture can come in a variety of sizes. It doesn't always have to be monumental.
I love that there's always a flow. There's always a continuous flow with these things. So it's not just various pieces. Like, to me, the last piece, it looks like a section of like a riverbed, right? I don't know. I keep seeing, here we see the two faces. It's intertwined, like it could be meaningful of family, of lovers, of, you know, mother, daughter, whatever. But big or small, his impact is just so huge. And I really admire that.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Yeah, that is definitely a huge part of Noguchi's work. And where is it? Is it at the Met? There's a permanent installation of one of his water pieces in New York City, which is all about the flow of water. I mean, you could describe it just simply as a fountain, but it's this gorgeous stone installation that has water flowing through and around and above it. He does want his work to be attached to the larger circle of life. his pieces are not standalone. They are meant to be part of the big picture. You're right, Lauren.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just beautiful. And the fountains are stunning. I can take a look and see where that installation
Yeah,
is.
I think it's the Met. See if you can find out for us. Thanks, Lauren.
No problem.
There's a great video, I think it might be on R21, where he's installing the piece and he talks about what it means to him to have been able to. It may be called Zen Garden. And it's a permanent installation at the Met, I think.
Hi, Liz. It's Robin.
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to say all the comments are really helpful to see more in what you're showing us. But the thing is so interesting is that when you see it at first, it just has such an impact. It's like you don't really know what it is, or you don't, necessarily have a complete sense of what he means to say. But it just is I don't know, it's so easy to receive his work, to enjoy it, to love it, even if at first glance, even. I don't know if that comment means anything, but looking further is always so great. That's it.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, how often in life do we walk past things and just miss them? But I believe it's our job as artists to make people look more than once at something and really see it. And Noguchi had this gift. That, to me, that's what makes something great. That's what makes something art, is the artist's ability to invite us in and make us look and make us really see the thing in a new and wonderful way. So I just love this piece. First of all, the technical difficulty of creating this piece, this oval that has been so precisely excised out of this, it may be concrete. I'm not sure what this material is, to be carved out of something hard like this, first of all, is extraordinary. It's just genius. To even think to do that, I think, is genius. And then this beautiful, smooth, circular depression in this incredibly smooth, flat surface is another technical achievement. My mind can't even begin to think how he achieved that. Maybe with a diamond grinder and lots of water. It's just brilliantly beautiful to me. And all of this rounded smoothness resting on top of this kind of angry, rough, scarified piece of stone underneath. And then the really incredible decision to tilt everything at an angle like this so that we could see these absolutely gorgeous shadows underneath. And the positioning of the piece so that it looks like it's growing right up out of the ground or out of the forest in which it's situated, or the bushes in which it's situated. Just wonderful. I don't know where this, I have a feeling this is like at Storm King or some other sculpture park. I would love to be able to stand on this, wouldn't you? Sit on it, touch it, put my head in that hole. And that this shadow inside this cutout oval is pretty amazing.
I'd imagine
I
it.
crazy love ovals. They're one of my favorite shapes on Earth.
Imagine it changes those with the movement of the sun, right?
And then these kind of flat planes, this triangle here, also wonderful, wonderful. How this mirrors and reflects the planes in the pedestal piece here on the bottom. It's very cool. And this flat plane surface here. Anybody else want to talk about this one? All right, I'm going to show some of his 2D work. So I want you to have the option of doing 2-dimensional as well as 3-dimensional. And we're going to get to work soon. The Whitney had, it was a while ago, but they had a retrospective of his work. God, it was beautifully installed. And this piece was on the top floor of the Whitney. I remember loving it so much. So simple, so pure, and so powerful. The way the curve is repeated and reflected, the surprise of these 3 prongs hanging down here, but also mimicked in this angle here. My gallery view is in the way. There we go. And then this curve, this wonderful little negative space up here in the corner. Just, I don't, sometimes in the face of genius, I'm struck dumb. This to me leaves me speechless. It's so gorgeous. These diagonals, this diagonal here, this diagonal here, just awesome. And my guess is he started this with a pencil doodle on a blank piece of paper.
It looks like a piano and a guitar.
It does, or a cello or a violin.
Yeah.
I was thinking a lute.
Go ahead. Was that Lauren?
I already said what I was going to say.
Oh, okay. That was Robin, right? Yes. I thought somebody came in at the end and I talked over them. But yeah, this definitely has an instrument feel to it. This could be a lute, this black shape here. There's also an African instrument called a kora. This looks like a kora. It's gorgeous. And then the way this light,
Yes, exactly.
almost white form curves around like this, the way he can make a geometric form become humanoid almost here. Just wow. It's just wow. All right, one more drawing I want to show, and then we're gonna do our thing. We're gonna do our own genius today, because this class is filled with genius. This one reminds me so much of Jean Arp, the French surrealist. but he was just working on a plain old piece of graph paper. I remember this one in the Whitney show, and it was a little bit crumpled up. You know, this was just an everyday sketch that he was working on. Beautiful forms. Biomorphic. This is when he takes animal and geometric shapes and combines them to make these luscious humanoid animal-like forms. These might actually be designs for some of his furniture light fixture pieces. I don't recall. All right, we good to go? Any thoughts, comments? Anybody not like Noguchi's work? I always love hearing counter comments. No? Come on. Hit me with it. Nobody?
It's Lily here.
Lily.
I have to say, it's so wonderful to see his artwork because I know him more for his lighting and his furniture. So thank you.
Which is beautiful. And we did, I don't know if you heard in the beginning, we did talk about the fact that he was a brilliant designer and well known. And he was very proud of his design work. He loved creating furniture, and his lantern lighting fixtures are also, and when the Whitney did a retrospective of his work, they paid homage to all of his furniture and lighting designs. That was an integral part of the show, because they were artworks. His design work was fine art. All right, here's your assignments. You can go one of two ways: sculptural. If you have stuff around your home, if you are an obsessive compulsive shell, stone, sea glass collector, as I am, and you have mega collections of those kinds of trinkets around your house, you can create your own sculpture today. You'll either need a hot glue gun or some kind of heavy duty wood glue, or Elmer's glue will work. You will need a base, something of heavyweight material. These are little wood blocks. Even a shoebox would work well. A small cardboard box. If you have an old flower pot, that would work well. Also, any kind of old bits of ceramic that you have that's either broken or you're ready to turn it into something else, repurpose and reuse. An old cookie tin, an old pasta jar, even glass would be good for a base. Old pill bottles, those kinds of things, but you will need a base to work from if you're doing sculptural work today. And I invite you to play around with texture, smooth and rough, angles, shadows, color, everything that Noguchi experimented with in his work. So that's the sculpture project. The other thing that you can do is drawing. If you have this kind of stuff available to you, a beautiful shell, a beautiful rock, anything from nature that you have in your home that you love, draw it. Observe it closely, draw it in detail, love it to death in a drawing. Use shading. Think about all the things that I've been teaching you over the years and make a gorgeous drawing. You could do it as an abstraction, a surrealist, flattened out image, or you can do a realistic rendition. Start first in pencil. That's always my recommendation. If you want to go further and work in color, feel free if you do. I would limit your palette as Noguchi did. I would stick with earth tones today. Maybe do just black and white like he did, particularly if you're doing a flat image. And that's it. Any questions? I think it would be fun to get up close and personal with one object if you're going for the drawing project today. However, if you want to make a mini still life with a bunch of things, have at it. Could put a few things together and work on multiple forms. All right. Take a few minutes to walk around your house, perhaps start gathering things up. Touch things. Touch is very important in this kind of work. Get very close to what you're working with, as Noguchi did. All right. Try and find things that have meaning for you or memory. I think that will help you with today's project. I'm not sure which way I want to go. I'm divided on this one. So I'm going to sit for a minute and think, look at my stuff and try and decide. Always tough for me. I do so love sculpture, but I also love drawing. I think it's good to know that even experienced artists can be stuck. There's nothing wrong with being stuck for ideas. Sometimes you just have to give yourself some breathing space. I found too, again, that just walking around my workspace, touching things, even smelling things can spark an idea. And you might start one project and drop it and move on to something new and different. Keep in mind what you saw in Noguchi's work. Try and emulate what he did, but please, as always, go your own way. You are your own best artist. Another thing to think about is, well, we did talk about light quality, but matte and shiny was another thing that Noguchi was fascinated by. Some objects have a shiny patina, some are matte and don't shine at all. Those of you who are doing sculpture, remember to play with the objects before gluing down. It's always better to make your final decisions and then glue. Because remember, if you glue down, it's going to be hard to separate. Move things around. Play with what looks good with what. Try and have your objects relate to each other, just as if you were doing a two-dimensional flat image. So I'm going to hedge my bets today. I have created what could be a sculpture, but I'm actually going to think of it right now as a mini still life. And I am going to start by sketching it. And then if I'm completely married to it as a sculpture, I'm going to start gluing it down. I'm going to have my cake and eat it too. How often do we get to say that? Hardly ever. Oh, you could also work with fibers in this project. I forgot to mention. Fibers come from, for the most part, come from natural materials. Do try and find natural fibers, wool, twine, cotton. Those would certainly be acceptable to Noguchi. Steel wire would be part of his aesthetic. I am searching for a pencil. Aha. Actually, this should go horizontal. So I've started with my gestural sketch as always, very quick, just to get down my composition. I'm not crazy about my composition, I have to say. I wish I'd started up higher on the paper, but I'm going to continue, see what I can fudge around with. Because after all, I'm the artist. And I'm in charge. There are ways to visually solve problems without having to start all over again. I might play around with the shading. I might add an object. Mistakes are a wonderful way to do further creative work. Doesn't always mean scrap and start over. So are we all good? Plenty of time left. Those of you whom I could see, you seem to be working deeply. Don't see anything in the chat box. Oh, there is stuff in the chat box. Oh, Lauren, you found the link about, so the Noguchi piece is at the Met. So we all have this opportunity to go see it. Awesome. No, he did not study engineering. Good question. Noguchi did not study engineering or design. And what little sculpture study he had didn't really seem to help him. Much of what he learned, he did apprentice at a very young age as a carpenter, but much of what he learned through his own experimentation and watching other people work. And you know, he was an inventor too. He was kind of a natural.
Liz, do you think that when he was doing his pieces, he had planned them out very carefully, or that he was moved, you know, like one piece of stone he had, and then, you know, kind of, oh, this would be good here, or do you know what I mean? Whether it was really a planned thing or it was just evolved as he.
My guess is it was a bit of both. I don't know if that helps, but I think it was
Yes, it
probably a
does.
bit of both.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Particularly, I mean, when you look at his furniture, I believe his furniture, for example, was highly planned out. His sculpture, on the other hand, was probably much more organic in process, particularly since so many of the pieces that he used were extraordinarily heavy. But, and also because they were so heavy, he had to do a lot of planning and organizing. If you can find that video, it may be on the Met's website or it may be in Art21, but or you could just go to YouTube and Google Noguchi, and I'm sure you can find the video where he's installing this piece at the Met, and just the way he's directing people and how precise he wants things to be is pretty amazing. He kept getting these guys to move this, you know, like, I don't know how many tons rock. They moved it multiple times until he was satisfied with where it was. So things had to be just so when he was installing work. So I'm working on this piece of chambered Nautilus I have here. Lucky enough to have this. You really shouldn't pick these off the beach anymore. If in fact you can even find one anymore. trying to recreate the shell by primarily using shading, hardly using any line. It's in some pretty dramatic light here at the moment. Some tips about gluing. Those of you who are at the gluing stage, it's always best to put the glue on the object that you're attaching rather than putting the glue on the surface that you're joining the object to. Everybody get the difference? So for example, if this is my base, I don't recommend putting the glue here and then sticking your rock on. I think it's always best to put the glue on the rock and then attach the rock to the base. Try that first. And if that doesn't work, try it the other way around. It may be that if it's a very heavy thing that you're attaching, you may need glue on both your base and the piece that you're putting on. Look here, we have a kind of nice sculpture just with two things. Look at that. And that was the kind of thing Noguchi was striving for, using as little as possible to make the most dramatic statement he could. If I had a way to balance this upright, wow, that would be pretty amazing. But it's not going to happen in my little workshop. I do have a power drill, but the question is, where is it? That would require a power drill. The other artist knows where it is, and he's not available at the moment. Oh, thank you. So, Laura put the link for the video of Noguchi's installation in the chat. Thank you so much, Laura.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. So Lauren put an image of it in the link, I believe, and Laura, our fabulous Hoboken Library librarian, put the video in for us. How long is the video, Laura? Wonder if it's worth showing in this class. Does it say how many?
I didn't see how long it was, but it was just the direct link for the installation at the Met. So there's a bit to read as well that everybody can take a
Okay,
look at.
no, I won't show it in this class. It's probably too long. It's wonderful though. I have seen it. It's really worth watching. So if you don't have to run after this class, I would recommend watching it.
Yeah, I just checked the length of the video, Liz. It says about 9 minutes, 9 minutes and 50
Yeah, no, we won't watch it today.
seconds. Yeah.
Too long. But Robin, you in particular, was you who had the question, I believe, about what his process was. It's all there. You will get to see the man at work, so it's quite a privilege.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank Laura and Lauren. They found the link. So, I think maybe I'm going to switch from my drawing and see if I can do like a little mini sculpture. I want to just experience a little bit of what those of you who are working on sculpture might be feeling this morning. Let's see if I can angle my camera. There's a bit of glare, but let's see what I can create in just a few minutes. So, as with any sculpture, there's the problems of gravity. You have to work with the forces of nature. This was one of the things that Noguchi was so good at overcoming. He just did the most amazing. That won't work. We're going to move on. Try something else. What else can we use? Let's see. Interesting. He also worked a lot with scale, playing around with large and small. Should have talked more about that. I hope you experience some of the pleasures of that relationship. And distance and space. Do things look better close together, further apart? These are all considerations for the sculptor. seem to fit anymore, so I'm removing it. Maybe it needs to go here in a different direction. It's kind of interesting.
Excuse me, Liz. Just so you know,
Yeah.
paste the link to the survey at the bottom, just so you guys know. Okay?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Laura. Could you repeat?
I just pasted the link to the survey for people when you're done.
Okay, great. So everybody,
Mhm. And then I'll probably arrange it where it comes automatically via email through LibCal for next week. But for today, I'll place it there and I can.
awesome. So I encourage everyone to fill in the survey for the library and for us. Any comments that you make help us to create better programming, to improve existing programming, to bring you the best possible experience we can. Your thoughts, your ideas, your comments will be so helpful. You'll have many opportunities, either do the link that Laura has provided, you can come to the library and get hard copy, or Laura is eventually going to send it to us in an email.
Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you.
Oh, thank you to the library for just giving us these great opportunities.
Our pleasure.
We are very lucky.
Indeed.
And feedback is helpful. I've been a teacher my whole life, and I love getting feedback. So please, if you have a moment, fill in the survey. This is kind of fun so far. I haven't done much, but there's already some interesting light and dark dynamic going on here. The wooden block seems a little bit monolithic and big, not sure how to deal with that. Something will come to me. And oh, just 3 minutes till sharing. So I'm going to stop for now for today. Darn. It's fun for the teacher to create as much as it is for you guys. Always hate having to stop. 3 minutes and we will share. I will share with you who our artist is for next week. And if you want feedback from me on your work, you are welcome to share what you've been creating. All right. Let me find out who our next artist is in our Asian American Pacific Island month of celebration. It's an artist we've spoken of before, but I'm sorry. I just have to do her again because I adore her. So there. I'm going to put her in the chat box. And in another minute, I will tell you who it is. So one more minute. And okay, our artist for next week, we have spoken about her maybe even twice before, so forgive me. I do so hate to repeat, but she's so awesome. Our artist will be Maya Lin. I particularly love Maya Lin because she loves the Hudson River, and we have a direct connection, not to make a pun. We have a direct connection to the Hudson River living here in Hoboken. So she definitely bears repeating, not just because of this river connection, but also because of the beauty of her work. She's most famous, of course, for her memorial to the Vietnam War fighters and victims that is located in Washington, D.C. All right, so today, let's do some sharing. Esty. I know quite a few people had to leave for doctor's appointments, etc. I understand. I know Suzanne had a course that she's taking and she had to leave early.
I'm here.
Oh, Suzanne, I thought you had to leave early.
Margot. I said, Margot, I'm here.
Oh, Margot, hi. Yeah, I'm
Hi.
glad you're here. Awesome. But we can take a few more minutes to share than we might normally do. So that's the good news.
Mm.
Esty, you're first.
So I did this.
Put it close.
Very,
glue-
very
the glue-
playful.
Yeah,
What?
the
Go
glue
ahead.
didn't work. The glue didn't work, so I'm tying it up. It's still not working.
See, the thing is with wood glue is it has to dry before it sticks. So like I said, and I was having the same problems.
Yeah.
You've got the problem of gravity.
Yeah. Okay, I did this. So that's
It's adorable.
adorable. Yeah, it's a mobile. And put it
Maybe-
above the crib of my new grandchild.
There you go.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it is perfect.
Maybe some of the things that are dangling off you should paint.
Oh, yeah, I'm painting now the wood, so maybe I'll get to that.
It's great.
Thanks.
Did you have fun?
Sure.
Awesome. And are these things that you've collected over the years or people give them
had
to
them
you? or-
actually outside in the rain, I had to dry them up. It's some seashells and,
Other stuff.
and other stuff, yes.
Awesome.
I like it. Esty, if you want to build more on it, you might want to get a piece of cardboard.
Oh,
See
I
what I
think
did?
I'm done.
Mount it on something flat.
It's perfect as it is.
It's perfect as it is.
Yes,
I agree.
that's it. Thanks.
I agree. And I heard you were babysitting yesterday. So jealous. I'm so jealous. Keep enjoying. All right. So we have Esty Noguchi. Who is next? Heather Noguchi. Let's see. Heather, what have you got? Wow.
I've got these,
Wow. Oh my gosh. This is beautiful.
I've got these very supersized acorns, and I tried to draw them, and then I glued them down.
Talk about surreal. It's very surrealistic.
You think?
Yeah. I love the color. I think it's finished. I would not do one more thing. You're done. The drawing is spectacular. I like it. Woohoo! 2 thumbs up. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Esty. And Robin.
Is everything in the way? So I have, I'll try to show you there's so much in back of it, but anyway. I don't, if you can see, I don't know how to do this. No, everything's, I don't know. Can you
Can't
see
lift it?
the shit? Well, okay. These, okay, hold on. Sorry. Just
Not a
load.
problem. We all have these technical challenges.
Okay. This is a crystal something or other. And
Yes.
this is a crystal something, and they live together on a table in my house.
Yes.
And I happened to put them on top of this. So one of the problems for me was, how do I get the depth? You know, there's so much different points in this, and it goes way back and all like that. And I really didn't get that. But anyway, this is the drawing that I made.
Ooh,
And
beautiful.
It is awesome. I wish, do you have a little more light? Can you turn on an overhead light?
Yeah, I'm making, if I go in the other direction, I really, yes, I do, I think. I know my lighting is all in this room. Sorry.
Well, it's just you have a lot of light coming in through the window and it's making
A glare.
Let me go the other way around. Maybe we can do it this way. What I wanted to get, is that better?
Yes.
My lighting is so weird.
Yes.
Yeah,
this is wonderful.
Okay. Well, this is the thing. What I realized is what I needed to go for was the rhythm and the way the stone set
Yes.
on the table, because you know it had an angle to it. And at first I tried to do the inside, which you can see has all this depth and everything, which I don't, you know, I didn't get that. But then I thought, well, going for the way the shell sits, or the crystal sits on the table, and this little guy here, who sits in front of him.
Yes.
They just have a great relationship. But in drawing, I realized that I really, can you see it? I don't know what the lighting is here.
Yes, you
Okay.
see
And
that
look,
very,
that is a
very dark area that you have. You need to do more of that.
Okay.
Just keep getting very dark in the bottom. It's gorgeous. Keep working on it.
Okay.
Really accentuate the dark areas, and it's going to go deep in to the inside of the crystal.
Okay.
It's
Okay,
beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. But thanks for the comments all. Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing great. I know there are more people. Thank you, Robin. Yes, France May, you're next. Robin, that's awesome. Key, I want to see an image of it when it's done, okay? Everyone, send me your JPEG. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I wanted to do something that could be like, put it in any direction you like.
Yes.
Oh, I like it.
And I really love to do geometric things, and these colors is like, I am in love with his work. I got so much inspired and inspiration from this, because I love simple things that communicate strongly, and I don't know. I think it's too literal, maybe what he did, but it was so beautiful to me that I just wanted to try.
Franz May, there is
Gorgeous.
nothing wrong with taking what the artist did and making it your own. That's what we
Gorgeous.
artists do. So it is definitely inspired by Noguchi, but you have brought your own aesthetic to it. It's wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Oh, I'm so thrilled that he inspired you so much. This is great. Turn it another direction. I want to see it in another direction. And keep turning it.
At first, I was thinking about how the very geometric thing, like a stair, could be dripping something and creating something more oval. But then when I thought it was so interesting when they had like this, it looks kind of like a person maybe, or an animal, because it's eyes and
Yes.
a nose or a mouth.
Do you have a
So,
favorite direction?
I'm not sure. I think
For me, that way is my favorite. Yeah.
yeah, I think this is the one that I like too.
Well done.
And also, I thought that cutting the paper like this would help me think about something different and experiment more. So
Bravo.
what's the plan? Thank you.
Thank you, Franz May. Pat. Pat, and then Susan and Margot.
I did not work on your project today because I have a wedding coming up. I want to make a gift for my cousin, so it's working on their portrait.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
It's very tedious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I got the groom, so I'm working on the bride.
It's gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I love how you always start with an unusual color and then
Yeah, I like the.
you always
pink.
have an underpaint
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
work.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I think of wedding. I think of, happy color, pink, purple.
Yes. Wow, they're going to be thrilled.
I hope I
Beautifully
finish.
done.
I have 1 week.
Oh, God. Yeah, I still have all those portraits that I've been commissioned to do.
Thank you.
So kudos to you I mean, the proportions, everything about it looks really well done. So thank Pat for sharing. All right, Susan.
Okay. Well, I can't tip it because it's sliding all over.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, yeah, there's a Buddha.
Yeah, that's a Buddha bead that my nephew brought back from Nepal. It was a necklace and it broke. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. There's some wood.
Very cool.
And this is a fossil. I don't want to turn it too much, but that's a fossil that I found somewhere. And some coral. Buddha's moving around now.
Would make a great,
a great what?
fountain.
What?
Fountain.
Oh, fountain. Yeah, so I have to wait till things dry because everything is moving.
Send me a picture. It's balanced. It's balanced very well.
Yeah, well, I had to do that to keep it from everything was sliding off as I was doing it.
Yes, this is a problem with wood glue.
Yes, my wood glue, and it was going all over.
It'd be nice if it was kinetic and it rotated. That would be so fun.
I don't think that's happening in this house, but
yes.
Anyway, I had fun with this.
Nice colors, nice textures. Well
Thank you.
done. Thanks, Susan.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Margot, best for last. Here we go. Come on, Margot. What did you work on today? Oh, your bead.
Ooh, did yesterday.
Fabulous.
I love
finished.
it.
Okay. And as far as today, I just got gentle. It's a still life.
Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
So you were working on two things at once. Bravo.
On the B to finish it. I hate starting something new without finishing what I started because
Yeah.
I won't.
You won't
And
go
then-
back to it.
Yeah, then I started this. Yeah, I have a little bit of a issue. Going back to it.
Yeah,
That's
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
fun, right?
Look at all those details. You should be proud.
Thank you.
Well done.
Beautiful, beautiful, just gorgeous.
Oh. Highlights, but that's me.
I
Forgot.
love the highlights. That's the hardest thing to do. You did great.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's comforting. Okay.
All right, my friends, our time is up. Don't forget the survey. The link is here. You can click on it before you leave.
Ah,
Oh, yeah, and Liz, some
it.
people,
good idea.
Do it, get it done. And then you won't have to think about it till next week.
yeah, now Liz, I think some of your students have signed up for the brain program at 2:00 today. Brain health.
Oh, wonderful. There's another art program today. Great.
No, today's the brain health series
Brain health.
shop.
Brain
One of-
health.
Brain health, yeah, and some people.
Did that. I wish I had
So-
time for that.
Yeah.
Hey, Liz,
Hey,
Thank
Marta?
you, Liz. Thank
Yeah.
you.
can you
Thank
Liz, she
you.
has one more question, Liz.
I'm waiting. Yes.
Okay.
Who has the question and what is it?
Margo, what can you spell the artist's name yesterday? Harry?
Oh, hold on 1 minute, please.